This is far from all-time highs. My bet, this is going up, the market's going this way.
Oh, I bought gold 2 years ago and gold is up over 100% and you didn't make any money. How is that possible?
Greed isn't good in any industry, gold and silver included. Silver's back up to 90,
Yeah,
gold's
awesome.
back up to 5,200. You know, and there's a lot going on, you know, the State of the Union address. But I didn't watch the whole entire thing, but sometimes the separation, you know, like we should all want the same thing, right? Like you're engaged, right? Right. Yeah, you're going to get married. I'm married for 25 years. We all want safety. We all want an opportunity to retire. We all like the American dream, right. Let's just say, right? So sometimes when we see this separation, and I don't study politics to that degree to understand everything of like saying these dumb Democrats and, you know, I don't know if that separation is the right approach. How does that help? Like, we should all be on the same page, right? And the way things are going, no one's going to be able to afford a house. With houses at $600,000 for the average house, how is anyone getting ahead, right? They're living somewhere right now where they're paying rent, I don't know, $3,000 a month, $2,500 a month for anything decent. How are you supposed to live like that and stack money to get ahead? Like the system right now is broken, is the point that I'm making. When you look at it that way, going out to eat, going to the movies, especially for a family, is a $200 night, right? Maybe even a $300 night. This system isn't set up anymore where like our parents or our grandparents, I'm 51 years old, you know, we're able to work 20, 25 years and then, is your father retired?
No.
Okay, he's still working. How old is your father?
60, he'll be 65 this year.
And he's still working?
Still working. My mom too. They both still work.
Okay, my parents are 75 and they're retired. My mother's still working because she chooses to. And I, like when she feels like it, she goes in, you know? But my father's retired for several years now. But can your parents retire if they want to? Are they working by choice is what I'm saying?
I think if they retired now or were forced to retire now, it would significantly impact their lifestyle for the duration of their retirement. So they're, you know,
For their travel, like
if they were going to retire, they would have to really, well, it's not even about travel, just being able to survive. They would have to downsize. My mom would probably have to sell her house and move into a very small apartment. Like, I don't think she's got the opportunity to live the lifestyle she lives now and retire. She wants to work for a few more years so that she could enjoy her retirement and travel and do things and keep her house.
set herself up for a better retirement.
For a better retirement, yeah.
But she's 65. That should have already been set up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, Rich. Like it used to be 20, 25 years, 30 for that extra setup period, like you were saying.
Like, so both of my parents have college degrees. My mom has an MBA. My dad has a bachelor's degree. They're both in finance and they still have to work after all these years. And they've been in the workforce for 35 plus years. Yeah, 40 years. They got out of college when they were like 24. So do the math, and they're still working hard. My grandfather on my mother's side specifically, his parents were immigrants. He came here. He didn't have a college degree. He worked in a deli. He eventually owned his own deli and pizzeria. And he retired in his early 70s, owned a house. He had 4 kids and a wife who didn't work, and he was fine with that. They had a car, everything.
He was an entrepreneur. He owned his own businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
My grandfather was a bricklayer, and he did about 35 years, and he retired.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he owned 2 houses.
Yeah.
He owned actually 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a different time period. That's what I mean. Back then, and
money worked back then.
money, you know, money meant something. You know, back then it's almost like, let's just say that you were making $30,000 a year and a house was 60,000, let's just say, right? Now houses are 600,000. People aren't making 300,000.
No, they're not.
You know what I mean? Maybe they're making 80.
And this all goes back.
Even if the 2 are working, the husband and the wife, and they're making 80 each or 90 each, you're still under 200, or even if you're at 200, it still doesn't jive.
Not here.
Because not here is.
Yeah, depending where you live, but no matter where you live, here's the truth.
Here meaning Long Island, just to be clear what we're talking about.
But if you were just the minimum wage in the 1960s to the gold standard, the minimum wage today, if adjusted for inflation, the money supply would be like $200 an hour.
Really? With based on the debt?
Just based on what the gold's on what an ounce of gold cost in 1960, what the minimum wage was. It was like, I forget what it was. It was like 2.5 ounces
The gold
a week.
was $20 an ounce, so $30. What was gold?
Yeah. So if you break it down like this, I know my dad found his father's like paycheck from the 60s somewhere, and it was like $50 for the week. Right. And he supported a family on that. He also comes from a family that had 4 kids and a wife and the whole bit. So and they lived in New York City. So $50 a week, if gold was $20, that's what, 2.5 ounces of gold.
Right.
So 2.5 ounces of gold today
is 15,000.
Yeah. 15,000 a week.
15, no, 12,500.
12,500 a week is what he would have been making. But he wasn't rich. I mean, if you make 12,500 a week now, you're rich.
Yeah, you got money. Yeah.
Back then, he was supporting his family. He was doing all right. He wasn't rich by any means, So that's why I said, like, I don't know what the minimum wage was. I forgot what the calculation was. I saw this on Twitter. But they broke down. They said in 1960, the minimum wage was this. It worked out to X amount of ounces of gold a month or something like that. And when they broke it down, it ended up being like $200 an hour in today's money.
Wow. That's interesting. I like all those breakdowns to inflation and everything else. I like the way it breaks down like that. Like, like when they show, like, back then, an ounce of gold, how much it got you.
It's like the average house in the United States cost X amount of ounces of gold. Let's say 20 ounces of gold.
Yeah.
And then today it's $500,000. But back then it was maybe $5,000.
Let me just break this down.
Yeah.
So a $20 bill and an ounce of gold. The $20 bill back then was able to get you the suit, the necktie, the shoes, like a nice suit, right?
Yeah.
Now the same ounce of gold can get you probably 10 suits.
Yeah.
With the shoes, the suit, the necktie, everything else.
Socks.
But that $20 bill, the socks, right, the underwear, right? But what does the $20 bill get you now?
Maybe the socks.
Maybe the socks,
maybe the
Rich.
tie, but even a good tie.
No, a good tie.
Yeah, a good tie is like $100, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Isn't that crazy when you look at those numbers like that? Yeah. But back in the 60s, 70s, or maybe even the 80s, that $20 bill was not the 80s, I don't think. I don't know. We'd have to.
A $20 bill in the 80s was good.
Was decent.
Because like if you watch like an 80s movie, the parents will be like, here's $20, get pizza, whatever you want.
Yeah, for like the weekend.
Can you even get a pizza delivered for $20 now?
No. Pizza's 30.
Yeah. If you get it delivered.
Yeah. That when you look at it that way. So, we have some gold here. I just want to say, like, this is interesting. This is a 1 ounce gold coin. This isn't, I don't have any of this. This is a maple leaf. Yeah. So sometimes people will say, Rob, what type of gold would you get? And you know what I say? The gold that's priced right. So like sitting here, would I get this or would I get a gold eagle? Well, what's the price on them?
Yeah.
So if I can get this for $4,800, hell yeah, I'm buying this.
Absolutely.
If I could get the gold eagle for $4,800, $4,900, yes, I'm buying it. Now, if the gold eagle is $5,300 and this is $5,000, I'm buying this. You know what I mean? So really, it doesn't matter. And it's the same thing with the silver. Would I get a silver bar or would I get a 1 ounce American Eagle or would I get a Morgan silver dollar?
Yeah.
I don't care. It just happens to be what's priced the best because I'm investing in the gold and the silver, to preserve my wealth. Like we go back to that suit tie,
Absolutely.
The suit, the necktie theory,
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like you make money on when you buy at the right price. Yeah. So I've had clients that, they told me, oh, I bought gold 2 years ago and gold is up over 100%. And when they show me what they have and I look at it, I'm like, you didn't make any money. And they're like, how is that possible? I didn't make any money when gold is up 100%. I said, well, they charged you 3 or 4 times what they should have. That's the problem. And that's why, I was telling my mom about this the other day during dinner, because I had a client that spent $50,000 and gold went up. At the time he made the purchase, it was like $3,400. Gold went up to $4,000 by the time he even received his package. 3 months later, they took to deliver to him.
Wow.
So he looks at it and he's like, did I do a good deal? And he tells me about it. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, you could probably, if you sold that right now, you would get about I think it was like 26,000.
And what was his original investment?
His original investment was 50.
Wow.
And I did the math. I said, on the date you placed this order, it was only worth 23,000. So I said, basically what they did is they charged you over 100% markup.
Wow.
So, but the good news is, like, we helped him get
Gold
his
has
money
to double
back.
for them to break even.
Yeah. And that's the problem. So I said, gold has to go up 100% for you to break even. So first they tried to tell him he couldn't return. I spent a lot of time with him, helping him, figure out how to write emails and phone calls and everything. Eventually, like a month later, they gave him back his money. I was able to give him more than double the amount of gold for the same price. And that's why it's important who you deal with and where you buy your gold from.
Yes. Greed isn't good in any industry.
No.
Gold and silver included. Shoes. You don't want to pay $400 if the shoes are worth $80.
Yeah. I mean, you go to the wrong car dealership, you end up paying $300 more a month than you should have. You call the wrong plumber, he'll charge you an extra $1,000 and tell you that it was because of the parts. So it's very important that you deal with a reputable company in anything, especially with gold, especially when it comes to your financial insurance.
Right. Because there is a lot of different angles to make money that people aren't aware of. Like 1 ounce gold coins for me, I would feel very comfortable investing in St. Gordon's right now, because the St. Gordon's do have numismatic value, but the spreads aren't there right now. So an ounce of gold is an ounce of gold. So even an ounce of gold like this, you're going to pay a premium, So like if gold's at 5,200, you're probably going to pay at least 53, 53.50 for this thing, right? $100, $150 over.
I mean, even if you pay 5% over spot, that's not a bad.
It's not a bad deal,
markup.
It's not 100%, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about what that guy did. But if I could get this for 53.50 and a St. Gordon's for 53.50, I personally would get the St. Gordon's. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because a St. Gordon's is 100 years old, and especially the better condition it's in, the spreads are going to get larger. So as the demand comes in for gold, when this hits, let's say 6,000, this might be 63, 6,400 with the markups because supply versus demand. But a St. Gordon, when gold's at 6,000, might be 8,000.
Absolutely.
Because there's not as many known. So if I could get them at the same price, I would feel more comfortable investing in the St. Gordon's. You know what I'm saying?
I have some clients that bought Mint State 66 Saints from me sometime last year and paid $3,500 a coin for them.
And what was spot at? 3,200 or 3,000 or something?
Maybe it was 3,000. I think they were paying $500 over spot, but now they're easily going to get back $5,500 or more per coin for them.
Yeah, I would think more. That's what I'm saying. Those spreads,
probably 6,000.
That's what I'm saying, Rich, especially on the 66s. That spread's going to get even larger. And at what point does that kick in? I don't know, right? Supply versus demand. The more buyers that come into the market, those spreads get larger. That's why you want to get in now, because I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but gold is 5,200, right? And it's had a huge run. And it's not just that gold is 5,200. Where else are people going to put money? Right? So let's say they come in and say, well, I believe in real estate, right? And I believe in real estate too. But an average house on Long Island is $600,000. What can this price go to? No one's going to be able to afford houses. You got to realize a $600,000 house, that's a hefty mortgage. That means you're going to be at probably $5,000 a month in a mortgage payment. Who could afford that? And then you got kids, dance to pay for, kids. I have 3 kids, You got to pay for all these things as they're growing up. Kids are expensive and cell phones are expensive and cars are expensive and car insurance is what, and going out to eat is expensive. So what? You got a nice house and you can't even go out. You can't.
And here's the other thing with real estate as an investment. This is why a few of my clients now, like I have like 5 different clients that are selling investment properties and putting it into gold. And this is all what they've said. So one of them told me it's just too much maintenance to keep up with. I'm older now. I don't want to deal with my tenant calling me and there's a problem with the toilet. There's a problem with the oil burner. It's just too much extra work for me to deal with, too many extra headaches. Another problem is, especially in Florida, people own these rental properties. The homeowner's insurance isn't covering the hurricane damage anymore. So I have a client that 2 years in a row lost money on investment property, even though he's got no vacancies. He's got rent coming in, but it's not enough to cover the damage to his property that's not being covered by the insurance company. So now that's a losing investment for him. And then, the other thing to keep in mind too is that it's not as divisible. Like if I want to get cash out of my house, I have to sell my entire house. So I got to list it on the market. I got to find a buyer, get an offer, accept an offer, schedule a closing date. I got to show up at closing. They got to get approved and then make it through the, like, it could,
And
a
if
lot
it's
of things
not,
could go
and if
wrong.
it's not your primary residence, you got to pay capital gains tax if you made some money on that. There's a lot to behind it.
Yeah. So, and now imagine you have a house that's 600 grand that you want to sell. You have to go through all that trouble, but what if you only needed 20 or 30 grand? So now you're going through all this trouble to liquidate a $600,000 property for 20 or 30 grand when I could just take a few of these and go, all right, I'm just going to cash these in.
You're holding 20 grand in your hand right there.
Yeah. And I'm still holding the rest of my gold. And I didn't have to do any paperwork. I didn't have to call a lawyer. I didn't have to call a real estate agent. I didn't have to pay fees to my agent, their agent, the lawyers, everybody. Like, if you've ever closed on a house, you know, you walk into a closing table and there's 20 people sitting around in your business. You know,
You know what? You know what? I like what you're saying, and that's why that's so wise what you just said. And I'll give you an example of my personal experience with this. Right. So here's my savings. Let's just say this is Rob. You know, this is my savings. Right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I have 2 kids in college. Right. So now my wife comes to me and says, "Babe, we need $30,000 for a partial tuition."
Yeah.
Right. All I got to do is this. She needs 30,000. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
There's your 30 grand.
There's your 30 grand, but I still have my savings, and this is still growing.
Yeah.
So instead of going down to inflation, this now, other 30,000 I have saved could become 60,000.
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point too, because this is something a lot of my clients who have done IRA rollovers with us, this is something that they love about the IRA rollover. So when you have an IRA, they require you to take a minimum, what do they call that? A required
minimum distribution.
Okay, required
RMD.
minimum distribution. They require you to take a payment every year.
After you hit 71 years old.
Exactly, after you hit 71. So
Might be 72.
if you convert part of your IRA into metals, right? They put the gold and silver in a depository, but you have the option to take your RMD in the physical metals. So let's say you don't really need that 20,000 every year to pay a bill or anything like that. Instead of having to liquidate and take cash, you could just have them send you the gold. 20 grand is only 4 of these now.
It's crazy.
Take the 4 ounces of gold, tuck it away in your safe, and it still continues to grow instead of having the cash sitting in your account and having to figure out what to do with that cash now. So that's something that a lot of my clients,
and then the opportunity for that to grow.
Exactly.
So now they take that 20,000, their RMD, right, which they had to take out. They take that 20,000, and then you got to pay taxes, I'm sure, on the 20,000. I think that's how it works. So let's say they lost 3,000 to the taxes or 4,000 to the taxes. With that sitting there, now that grows. You get that money back you just paid on taxes
100%.
as gold continues to grow. Because my opinion, gold's it could wind up between $20,000 and $50,000 an ounce. So
I think in 20 years, we see 50,000 an ounce.
you think that far? How long do you think on 20?
20?
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years.
Okay.
Only-
See, I might even say 2 to 3 years.
So the only reason why I'm basing this on is I go, look, I like to look at the numbers and say 20 years ago, how much has gold performed since 20 years ago? And I did the math on this for one of my clients recently. So he was saying, you know, what do you think could happen in 20 years? The exact number, if we just repeated the last 20 years over the next 20, it would be 47,500. But I think it's going to accumulate. It's going to grow faster than that, appreciate faster than that, because things have changed a lot with the national debt, the money supply, everything's growing faster. The debt's growing faster, the money supply is growing faster. So it could hit $100,000 in the same time frame.
And you know what? And it could, Rich, but that's why I say the 2 to 3 years, because of what you just said. We're in a corner now that isn't the same as it was in the 90s or the early 2000s, because the national debt now is almost 39 trillion. So the interest payment on 39 trillion is a lot different than the interest payment on 10 trillion.
Right.
You see what I mean? So it's destroying itself at a faster pace. And that's why I say the 2 to 3 years, because something's going to have to come in and stabilize this economy. And a 5,000-year history is this is what does it. So this is a much better form of savings than fiat currency. And if anybody doesn't know what fiat currency means, it's a dollar backed by nothing. It's a currency backed by nothing. And history shows us it does not work. Usually the lifespan, I believe, is about Well, I think it's 15 to 20 years.
Yeah,
if I'm not
that's
mistaken,
correct. And
before it snaps.
yeah, the only reason why I think the U.S. dollar lasted longer is because we had the petrodollar.
Correct. Our dollar was backed by oil, and people don't understand. We can make a whole video on that.
Just
where
on the
every oil
petrodollar, yeah.
transaction that happened in the world had to be done through U.S. currency, so it made U.S. currency that much more relevant.
Yeah.
You know, but now since the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, there's no more petrodollar.
No more petrodollar.
No more petrodollar, and our dollar is literally backed by nothing at this point. It needs stability, and this is running. You know, so
if you have an IRA that's sitting there and you want to explore the possibility of protecting your retirement savings with gold and silver, reach out to Premier Coin Galleries. We'll give you some free information, and if you do want to take that avenue, it will cost you nothing to convert your retirement savings into hard assets like gold and silver.
I just want to piggyback what you just said about the IRA. You almost have to say to yourself, what do you think is going to continue to go up in 2026, 2027, 2028? Is the stock market going to go up, or is gold and silver going to go up? Which one is going in which direction? My opinion, the stock market's at all-time highs. It's going to start going down. Now, is this at all-time highs? We're just talking about $50,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
We're talking about $20,000. This is far from all-time highs. My bet, this is going up, the market's going this way.
Yeah.
So that's where an IRA rollover would come into play. You can even roll over 401ks too.
Yeah,
so
as long as you're not still employed by the company that you have the 401k through, you could roll the 401k over as well. Again, we can get you free information on that and a free consultation. Just give us a call or send us an email, and we're more than happy to help you out with that.